Hello everyone, welcome. My name is MJ Pestridge. Welcome to another P3D video. Don't you just hate it when you're scrolling through Sim Market and you come across an add-on and you go, oh yes, I want to get that one, that looks really good, and then you scroll down and go, oh, it doesn't currently support my version of P3D. Well, in this video I'm going to show you step by step how to get older add-ons from FSX, previous versions of P3D, into the latest version, be it version 5 as of recording this video, or in the future version 6, and how to get them working properly. It is a bit of a complicated process if you're not used to it. It's a 3-step or 3-part process as well, and it can be quite tricky, but I'm basically going to go through everything with you, and we're going to use this Aspen extended one as the example. I currently have this in my version 5 sim. It was only ever updated to version 4. It was created back in the days of FSX, so it really was kind of built for that sim, and it works perfectly in versions 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 of P3D, but sadly, you know, because of the Microsoft Sim, Aerosoft have now announced that they're not creating or developing any more add-ons for current versions of P3D, which is a really sad state of affairs, because Aerosoft are a big developer and publisher for FLIGHTSIM add-ons, and they've got some really nice add-ons. In fact, this Aspen Extended is very nice, and it's just such a shame that they no longer support the current versions of P3D. Hopefully in the future that will change. This works absolutely fine in version 5, and the reason I'm using Aerosoft as the example is because they kind of like to install their stuff into a very particular location or in a very particular way. The way I'm going to show you is going to be particular to Aerosoft, but the concept of what we're doing you can apply to any add-on or installer, and it will work, and there won't be a problem. It's literally just telling the installer you're going here when you're actually going there. The installer will think it's going in the right place, but in actual fact we're putting it somewhere else, and I'm going to go through everything. So yeah, down in where is it, Colorado, we're using Aspen-Pitkin County Airport as the example. There is a nice lovely guide, a PDF that comes with this one as well, and I really suggest reading it, because all of the settings, the advisement settings, are still true for this airport, even if it isn't FSX or P3D version 1, 2, 3, or 4. Making sure you've got the winter or summer texture active, and if you need to optimize your frame rate, there are some options there, but I really do recommend reading this. Now this add-on does come with a sim object called Frank here, an avatar. Now we won't be installing him into the sim, but if you do wish to have him, it is really easy to get him in, and I'll show you that as well. Now this basically involves, I will say, playing with the registry for Windows. So if you're not comfortable doing this, then I'd advise you not to do this, because the registry is very sensitive, and if you accidentally mess it up, you can actually break your sim and your PC at the same time. So disclaimer here, please only proceed if you're comfortable following the step-by-step tutorial that I do. If you're not, then I would advise you not to do it. Saying that, down in the description box below there is a link to my Discord, where I do offer one-to-one help for those that need it. If you need further assistance because you just don't get it, or if something's gone wrong and you need help correcting it, I am there for you to help you along the way. I've seen quite a few tutorials showing this, and they're very brief and they don't explain everything, and that's the problem, where then people have problems and they go, you've broken me PC, mate. And I've even seen one YouTuber say, if you mess up, you're on your own. Okay, now like I said before, this is basically getting the installer, and this is for version 4 or FSX, this installer, getting it to think it's going to go into one location when in actual fact it's going into another. Now I've created, and I highly recommend this, I've created a dummy sort of folder set up here for all the very different versions of P3D. So in P3D version 4, I've got a copy of the executable, which is named exactly the same for all P3Ds. Just copy that, put it in, and then I've got a dummy address here that I'm going to use, and it thinks it's going to go into version 4. And then I've chosen to XML that airport and the surrounding scenery and use it in the sim as an XML, so it just sits on top. You don't have to do that. When it installs it, it literally is just a scenery and texture folder, so you actually can put it inside your scenery library and it be a part of the scenery library, as opposed to an add-on that's just going to sit on top. It's totally up to you. That is your call, and there's other videos that I've done showing you how to create XMLs, but for this video it's literally about the installer. So down in my Discord, the link is down below, I've popped in a series of reg keys. Now there's one for FSX, there's one for version 4, and then there's one for various different ones. So the version 4 here goes to the local machine, which is where P3D will be installed. This one is for the current user, which you won't really need, but some installers will pop it in there. This is only popped in just for in case you need it. There is a sort of one that's only the oldest of add-ons will use the WoW64 node location. Most of them will use this location, but for older, very old ones, you might need to use this one. And then of course you got the FSX if you're using the FSX. Now, it's very important to note that these registry keys, all they do is insert into your registry the line that's required, okay? The setup path, and then your content and your scenery path. Obviously, as you can see, I don't have version 4 in my registries. I've removed them for the purposes of this video, but that's what exactly we're going to do. We're going to insert a registry entry for the installer, so it picks up and goes, oh, you have got version 4 installed on your machine, which I do actually have. And then it'll, because the setup path is going to be to version 5, it's then going to install it thinking it's going into version 4, but as you can see here, I've got other things set up for version 5. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm creating, like I said, a dummy location. So I'm taking the dummy location, copy, and I am installing it into here, because I don't want to install it because I've already installed it. So I'm changing the setup path to that location, the dummy folder that I showed you. So if you've got P3D somewhere else, like I've got P3D in this location, okay, that's where P3D is. If you've got it somewhere else, then you need to alter this line of address here to the location where your P3D is installed, because if you don't do that, then the installer won't actually recognize, even though you've got the registry in there, that you have actually got P3D version 4 installed. Even though it says version 5, it is going to be going into version 4. One thing I also recommend as well is having Windows Defender disabled. Again, in the Adam experience, I do have reg keys which will totally disable Windows Defender. If you've got exclusions set up for Windows Defender for P3D, then you don't need to disable Windows Defender. Another thing as well is if you come to your settings here, go to Update and Security, go to Windows Security, Virus and Threat Protection, make sure that the Virus and Threat Protection settings for real-time protection is turned off, because as you install, this real-time protection will basically scan that installation, and if it deems any file as a suspect for malware or for virus, it will not allow it to be installed onto your PC. It will quarantine it, and that will have a big effect on you running the airport as it should be. You'll find missing items, you'll find glitches, crashes, all sorts of problems, and a lot of the files we use in FLIGHTSIM for P3D are old, and especially if the add-on is old, then current Windows will deem that as a Trojan or a virus, and it will not include it in the installation. So it's really important that you disable. This will only disable for about 15 minutes, and then it will automatically get turned back on again. But once you've run P3D, it will be fine. So you can, I really recommend you doing that. So basically, I'm going to walk you through what all this means. It is kind of the same depending on which one you use here. There is a setup path, and there is also a app path and your license. You don't need to worry about your license unless you're using the professional. Then you just need to type in professional where it says academic. The application path, this is going to be where your P3D is installed to. So obviously, if you haven't got version 4 installed on your PC, you don't need to worry about this line. But if you have got version 4 installed, but you will need the setup path reg key to get it into where you want to go, which is version 5. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm installing it into a dummy location here. So I've changed the setup path to that dummy location. So if you wish to do a dummy location run first and you don't want to have it installed into the sim or into a very particular part of your PC, then create a dummy folder structure, like I said, where it says program files, Lockheed Martin, and then P3D version 4, which basically mirrors a P3D 4 installation. And then take that address here, copy it, and pop it into where it says the setup path here. It's very important you do that because it will then install it into this folder location rather than the sim or anywhere else. So it's very important you do that. And it's the same for FSX as well. If you've got your FSX anywhere else, then the setup path will need to be wherever you've got your P3D, installed, because obviously this is going into version 5. So if you're putting it straight into the sim, then just make sure that the setup path points to your sim. If you're putting it somewhere else, make sure the setup path points to that location. The app path will determine where your sim that can remain the same, but this is going to be where your sim is actually located. So if you do have version 4 installed already, you won't need to do this unless you need to run the setup path. Okay, so all the reg keys, as like I say, are in my Discord. Just jump in my Discord, download these reg keys. These are absolutely safe. I've written these myself. They are not going to harm your PC. The only person who's going to harm your PC is you. If you do change things or do things that aren't recommended, then that's the reason why it didn't work. So basically what you need to do is just double click and it'll say, adding information can cause problems. Do you want to continue? Yes. And then it says, right, it will add to your registry, but it won't actually show up in your registry until you've restarted your PC. So what we need to do now is we need to restart the PC in order for everything to show up. So like I said before, this is a 3-step process or a 3-phase process. There's prepping to run the installer, there's running the installer, and then there is once it's installed. So before you run your installer, you want to make sure that once you've added your reg keys that they are actually there. So just type in reg in the search, run as administrator, it's very important you do that. Run as administrator, it's very important you do that, and then you should see the entry for version 4, and the setup path for it should be there, putting exactly where it is you want it to be. So in this case, the setup path isn't there, so we need to add that ourselves. So basically open with code or open in Notepad, whichever one it is, the setup path here, which is part of the installation. So it should have written that in, but it hasn't. And it is under local machine, Lockheed Martin. Yep, it is in the right location. So if it doesn't put it in, we can add that ourselves. So right click on here, new string value, and you want to type setup path. And if you're not sure on how to word it, basically go here, and as you can see, it's all one word. So we go in here and basically add the value data there, copy OK. If you want to do it like it should, go here, copy that, go back to version 4, right click, and edit. just rename and then V in there and then edit that. Now that's edited, that will now go in as it should. The installer for Aerosoft will basically find the setup path and install it there. It should go in if you've got the right permissions and everything goes fine. It should go in. I deleted it out for this purpose of this video, just to show you in case it does go wrong how you can edit it yourself. But as you can see, I've got version 4 now in my sim here, or in my PC. Now, another disclaimer: once you do this, once you've used this process, I really recommend, in fact I strongly recommend you come in and actually delete these entries out, because there are apps out there like from PMDG, the Central Upset app, the Orbex Central app. They actually, when you fire those applications up, they actually scan your PC for the various different versions of P3D you have. So if you run those programs with these files in here, it's actually going to modify, because most of you probably will have the setup path directed into version 5 if you're putting it straight in the simulator. If you're going to use an add-on XML, then I suggest making the dummy location route, which is what we're showing here. So wherever you've installed it, the PMDG Up Center, the Orbex Central app will check this location for files and modify your sim accordingly if you have P3D version 4 installed when it's updating, or when you're asking it to update aircraft or airports or whatever. And it can actually then mess up the shaders for version 5 because it will be messing with those instead of version 4. So it will be installing version 4 shaders into version 5, which are totally different, and then you will go in version 5 and go, what the hell happened here? It's messed up my sim. And you'll blame me in this video, or you'll blame the process, but in actual fact it's because it's supposed to do that. You know, when you fire up the PMDG Ops Center or the Orbex Central, it goes, here's the sims we know you have, and we will look after those sims accordingly. Obviously you don't have version 4 installed on your PC, and you've got version 5, and you're asking and you're tricking the installer. And so this is why it's essential, once you've installed it, once you've done this, to come in and literally right click and delete the entry here before running Orbex Central or PMDG Up Center. Essential. And then restart your PC so it takes effect. Any modifying of the registry will not take effect until you restart your PC. So it's really important that you actually do the modifications and then restart your PC. Which we've done that now, so we don't need that. Right, so here we are. We've now prepped our PC for running this installer. So this installation should just be a normal installation now. So phase 2, let's run the installer. So always right click and run as administrator when you are running this, and also make sure that the folder location has got full permissions to run anything, because if it doesn't, then again it won't install properly. So just make sure that the permissions for wherever you're installing this in allows the trusted installer or the everyone permissions, and then just right click and run as admin, and the installation should run now properly. Now I've already got this installed, so it might go can't install it because we already know you have it installed. We're about to find out. But when you run through an Aerosoft installer, they kind of lock off the ability for you to choose where you want it installed. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can have it, and choose, but for the older add-ons, it tends to be locked off to the simulator, because these used to be installed into the root directory of the sim, so there was no need to give you a choice of where you wanted it installed. So just here we are. I accept the terms of the license, click next. Note that these files are personalized. Yeah, okay. So this is where now we need to type in our email address. So all you have to do basically is go into where you've bought it from and enter your details as needed. Once you've done that, just click next, and you are ready to go. So we're going to be choosing the version 4 for P3D. Click next. This one actually does allow you to choose where you want it, so that's actually pretty good, but normally it would be locked off, but the fact that we get to choose, that's okay. So I'm going to choose the location that I had, which is program files, Lockheed Martin, and version 4. So it's going to install straight into here. Click next and just double check here on this setting here that everything is as it should be. So it thinks the sim is here in this location and it's going to find this executable. It needs to pick up that executable for it to work. It's going to create an ecosystem Aerosoft Aspen folder in this location and install it into there. It actually thinks we're using FSX for some reason. The DLL for FSX is going to get modified. There is no installation in the app data location for Lockheed Martin, so it's going to add that. It's also going to try and add it to the scenery CFG. It doesn't actually exist, so nothing's going to get messed with. So basically, that's okay. Now, if anything here is different, if it says the installation path here is different than where you want it, then somewhere along the way you've messed up with the reg keys, because these are generated based on the reg keys. So if you've changed the address to the wrong location, it will show here, and this is why you need to double check, because it needs to install where you want it to install. So it's going to be one of two locations. One, it's going to be in the sim root folder for P3D version 5, and you've told the installer to go to version 5 instead of version 4 or whatever it'll say in the reg key here. And it's so easy to change that value. Just open this up, and I recommend opening it up in Visual Studio Code, and the setup path, like I said before, just literally change that to wherever you want it to. If you want it to go straight into version 5 and it has this program files Lockheed Martin version 4 address, just change the address here, which will be the same when you get it. Just change that from a 4 to a 5 and it will get installed into there. And once you're happy, once you've checked this over and you're happy, click next, and the installation will go as planned. And here we go. That's the folder popping up where we expected it, with the Aerosoft subfolder and then Aspen extended in here. And it's basically going to look exactly like this when it's finished. It's going to have installed everything here. This is my final installation here, and we're going to go through this, setting this up afterwards, which is only applicable to this particular airport. You won't have to do this for all your add-ons. Now this way of showing you how to sort of cheat the installer applies to airplanes, sceneries, airports, basically any add-on for previous versions of P3D. So if you have P3D version 1 to 4 and you want to put it in 5, this will work for any type of add-on. Just got to make sure that you do your setup before you run the installer properly, and then the installation will run properly, and then make sure you configure your add-on with the sort of after installation once you've done it. The installation, depending on your type of PC, should only take a couple of minutes. It ain't going to take ages. If it gets stuck, if it can't do something, it will usually pop up and say there was an error during installation at the end. But for most of the time, it's actually going to be fine. There we go, successfully installed. Click finish. That is done. And if we look into where we were before, this is the installation here now. So it has now installed the sim. So here we've got the actual airport installed into here, scenery texture, that's basically that, and then obviously it's got a sim object, the Frank avatar here. If you do want this in your sim, all you have to do is take this here, cut it, go to where your sim is located, go down into sim objects, go into avatars, and then just paste it in, and he is now a part of your installation with all your other avatars. It's not a necessity for the airport at all. It's up to you. So if you're wanting to set this up now as an XML installation, because at the end of the day, this only contains a scenery and a texture file. It doesn't contain anything else. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can sort of set this up as an XML add-on, like I've done it. But one thing you want to do first before you do anything else is go into your registry editor and delete the version 4 entry. So if you do run Orbex or if you do run the PMDG Up Center, it's not going to affect your version 5 sim. Obviously, any changes you make in this registry, you just need to restart your PC for it to take effect. But for this one, now we're on to the phase 3. That was phase 2 done, complete. Phase 3 is the use of this now. So this actually does come with a setup here, exe, and when you run it, it asks you which of the textures you want to run. Do you want to run it in winter mode or summer mode? Now, I've chosen winter mode, and I'll click submit, and then it will change the files as necessary here. So all these winter files will basically just go into here. And same with the extras, they can actually go in as well. So you basically cut and paste them in, and they'll be added. And then all this does here is take this winter option here, and it puts it in to the sim. Obviously it's already done it, so we're replacing it, and that's basically it. Now there is another BGL file here that you can put in the scenery folder if you want the accurate altitude of the mountains that surround Aspen. You can basically pop this in as well, paste that, and then that's in there as well. And that's basically it. Now we've set up the airport to use in our sim. So now we just need to put it in the sim. So basically, if you want to have this anywhere on your PC, that's fine. All you need to do is cut that folder out and whack it wherever you want. I've put it in with my airport, so it sits here. And it's all here. Even Frank, the avatar, is here. So that's basically phase 2 done, and the phase 3, we've set up the airport. Now it's basically putting it into the simulator itself. You've got 2 options for this. You can literally just put it straight into your scenery library. All you have to do is start the sim up, go into your scenery library and add it as an airport once you've moved it to where you want it, and it's these 2 folders that will be picked up by the sim and be used in the sim. That's totally fine, nothing wrong with that. Or if you wanted to, like I've done, you can create an add-on XML. Now for the purposes of the video, for anybody who wants to have an add-on XML, I will put this file, this add-on XML, as a template into the reg keys in my Discord. So if you do need a template, it won't say Aspen extended here, it'll say name of add-on, and then here the pathway to that add-on. That's all you have to change. Just direct it to wherever you've put your airport. Make sure the name here matches the name of the add-on folder here. So in this case it's Aspen extended, we've put that in, and the add-on name must be the same as the add-on component name as well, and it's a scenery folder. So it's the scenery and the texture that gets picked up in one, and the pathway to that is in the location here. That's where I have mine. So I'll add that as an extra file in there, but that's basically it. Once you've written it, all you then have to do is pop this file here, Aspen extended, with the XML inside into your P3D add-ons folder in the documents section, and then it will show up in the sim. It will ask you to do you want to register the files. Once you're on this splash screen, just click yes, and that is it. It's in your sim and you're done, and that's it. This process works no matter what add-on you're going to use from the past. If it's an FSX one, if it's a P3D 1-4 one, it will work. As long as you set it up properly, as long as you execute it properly and clean up after yourself, you'll never have an issue with this process. It's totally safe, but there is a disclaimer though. Some add-ons, in particular airports, will not work in version 5 no matter what you do. Sometimes with airports of the past you will have to come in and maybe disable some things here because they don't work with current sort of vector or current other sort of regions, and that's fine. In this case we don't have to do any of that, but there are things sometimes that you will have to do, and there is even some airports that won't even work. They won't show up, they're invisible, and that's because the textures used are completely made differently, and they're made for the shaders of an earlier sim, and that's not something you can get around unless you're changing every single file here and every single texture. So if you come to a point where you load it in, and you can check that you've loaded in properly by going, if you've done the XML route, to here, and it will be in this list here. It should say, there it is, Aspen extended, and then we go in here and there it is on the top. If you've put it into your sim correctly in the place you want it to use, then just make sure it's layered in correctly to where you want it. And then it'll generate the file indexes for you. One thing to note as well, no matter if you're using the add-on XML or you're using the inserting into the scenery library, one thing I recommend is once you've installed this airport, before you actually load into the airport, go to Program Data for Lockheed Martin, your version 5, into where it says scenery indexes, and delete all of these DAT files here. Clear the registry, so we'll shut the sim down. Clear the registry here, so that, and then delete, and it's the same as if you've got the black marble tool and you're using the black marble manager here. It's the same for this one. Basically flush DirectX cache, rebuild the index, click apply. That's the same as deleting the indexes. Basically what it does is this will just basically wipe the indexes for your sim and allow the sim to rebuild them based on its current configuration. Only do that once you've placed the airport into the sim, so that way all the sim objects won't be floating around in space, nothing will be sort of weird, and everything will sit down on the ground as it should. There will not be a problem with this particular add-on if this is the one you're trying to do, or any add-on, if it's been made correctly, as all the steps you've taken are what should be done in order to get this to work. In all honesty, I don't really know why Aerosoft doesn't just quickly remake the installer to include version 5, remake the shaders for the add-on to be used, in current version 5. Like, it literally takes 10 minutes to create this, and they would have more sales, but I don't know why developers aren't taking the time for current versions or future versions of P3D. It's a little bit like, because some of these airports, some of these add-ons that aren't currently available in current P3D are really good, and it is a shame, but it's now up to us to sort of make them work in P3D, current and future versions. If the developers abandon us, we'll just still get those add-ons and still use them because they are good. And that's it, basically. Once you've done that and you've deleted the registries, you've restarted your PC, the add-on, once you put it in your scenery library, is in and done. And it does work fully compatible with P3D version 5, and I'm sure in future versions it will also work as well. It's a pretty easy process to trick the installer, but if you do it correctly, there's no harm in it. You're just doing something the developer should have done, really. It is actually a good add-on, the Aspen in particular, and there's a lot of add-ons from the past which do look good in version 5. In fact, they probably look better than they did before. Now, as you can see off into the distance, I have no snow on the mountains, and this will vary depending on the add-on you use. I use Mega Scenery for Colorado, so it's a texture, summer texture only. There's no winter textures, and so the mountains in the background surrounding the airport don't actually have snow on, but the trees, which are what the sim have popped in, do. So you'll get snowy trees on summer textures if you use Mega Scenery. I think this is more designed to be used with the Orbex products. So if you've got the global base products, the North American Land Class and Vector, you will have continual snow surrounding the areas. And if you use Terraflora like I do, mixed in with my own global pack, you will also see then winter trees and textures as well. But the airport itself, the add-on, works perfectly, looks great, performs actually pretty reasonably good as well, doesn't spike the VRAM, and is quite a detailed airport, so you know, I'm quite happy. It's fully compatible as well, or most add-ons will be fully compatible as well with any nighttime add-ons that you've got. Like if you get the Black Marble family pack at night, or even any other night lighting add-on, it is fully compatible. You might need to disable some night textures if they are, you know, the ones that are baked in, they will show through by default, but that's pretty easy to do. You just delete out a file and you're done, and it does actually look good. And one thing to note as well, if you do go in the nighttime, you do have Black Marble especially, you can actually see if your sim is too light or too dark pretty easily. If you don't see the volumetric light underneath the lights here, just pointing out, if you don't actually see the volumetric light sort of shadowing down, then your sim is either too light or too dark. It's not balanced correctly. You should be able to see a haze of volumetric light under each sort of light spot here, and if you don't see it, then I would say your sim is probably too bright. And that's a way to also sort of calibrate the brightness and the color of your sim, because if you don't calibrate it right, your night times aren't going to look as good as they could, and so it's really important. I've done other videos on how to calibrate your setup to Windows, you know, color management system. Go check them out. I'll actually pop them down below in the description box. Make sure you've got a properly calibrated monitor to your Windows 10, otherwise P3D will not look correctly during daytime or nighttime, and you're not getting the best from your sim. So check those videos out, and that's basically about it, really. The add-on here in particular, like, works brilliantly. You know, in version 5 responds the way it should in terms of dynamic lighting, and even though it doesn't actually have any dynamic lighting probably, or maybe they did update it for version 4, who knows, but it works perfectly. And most of the add-ons that you do trick the installer with will work fine. It's just that you do need to have, you know, trick the installer in order just to get the files installed correctly, and then you can position them about either XML or in the scenery library. So if you find this video helpful, please leave a like, leave a comment down below. If you feel there's something I've missed out of this video, please mention it in the description, in the comments below. Also, if you're running into trouble, if you need extended help beyond this video, you've watched it a bunch of times, you still don't get it, or it's not working on your system, don't forget there's a Discord link in the description box below where I will offer help. In fact, if you zoom out, you can see where in fact the Aspen add-on affects. It's like an arrow shape, and yeah, I offer help in my Discord, one-to-one or extended help in the chat, in the message system if you need it. And that's basically it. I've been asked to do this video for a while, so I've just now gotten around to it. So enjoy, and continue to enjoy my reviews for Sim Market. In the new year, I'll be doing Microsoft reviews as well as P3D. I probably won't be doing X-Plane reviews, but who knows in the future. I'm going to concentrate on P3D and Microsoft, really. But anyway, that's enough of me. Thank you so much for watching this video, for the patience for all of this video, and I do hope you're able to enjoy more add-ons now that you own in current P3D Flight Simulator. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. If you do have any questions, if you do have any issues, any problems, go into my Discord, where not only you'll find the reg files or the sort of the pack I've created for this, but you'll also find help if you need it, one-to-one support, or you can ask questions in my Discord and I'll answer them directly. Thank you so much for watching. Also, don't forget, I give away sim market vouchers. 50 euros can be yours. All you have to be is a subscriber to my channel. Leave comments down below in any P3D video. And at the end of the month, I go live with a vlog. I announce the winner. And there we go. That's it. Guys, take care, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.